Shalom. Something I wanted to touch up on is for those that have finally woken up, who've come out of their slumber, who have finally brought themselves out of the apostate church, the apostate church system. Now, for myself, for 42 years, I was in the apostate church, and I finally came out of it. Now, this is the interesting aspect of it. Those who are coming out of the apostate church, who are waking up to what the truth actually is, who are finally breaking through those barriers of all the lies, the deceit, the manipulation, the witchcraft, getting away from the wolves in sheep's clothing, the false shepherds, the hirelings, and so forth. I haven't seen it happen with very many people under the age of, I'm not going to say an exact age, I'm going to say extreme late 30s, early 40s and above. It's not happening with people in their early 30s, maybe in some rare cases that I'm not aware of. People in their 20s and younger. You don't see it happening. And maybe that's because there takes a certain degree of maturity for it to happen, both in your personal life and in your spiritual growth. But here's the other thing. It doesn't happen for everybody. There are people that I know that are in their 80s, their 90s, hasn't happened. There are people that have already been born, lived, and died. Hasn't happened. It's only certain people that this keeps happening to. And I was thinking about this the other night. As a matter of fact, it was on Shabbat night itself. And for those of you out there that this has happened to, you need to be so thankful that it has happened to you, that you're not that other person. It's happened to you, but it hasn't happened to them. And then there are other people, you try to talk to them, you try to explain things to them. They won't have anything to do with it. They're happy where they're at in their spiritual faith and in their walk. You need to be thankful that you were brought out of this. You were brought out of the lies and finally exposed to the truth. Believe me, you could very well be the other person that it hasn't happened to. That still has the blinders on, the scales over their eyes. You need to thank your Father Yahweh that He's had mercy on you to do this for you. Many are called, few are chosen. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that those like myself are actually chosen. Salvation can still be lost. Anyone who sits there and says the once saved, always saved is full of it. That is a demonic lie straight from the pits of hell. Just like the whole pre-tribulation rapture nonsense fits into that exact same box. But just because there are those out there who have been pulled out of the apostate church, don't be fooled, because you can still lose your salvation. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Don't be prideful. Don't be too sure of yourselves, thinking you made it, you're in. Because in the end, there are those that will think that they have made it, and they will not. And there will be those out there who are thinking, or still having doubts as to whether or not they have made it in their life, and they've made it. When it's all said and done at the end, there will be people in heaven you would never in a million years think would be there. And then there will be those that you would think would be in heaven. They didn't make it. It goes far beyond how strong and how pious you actually are. It goes far beyond what you think you need to do in terms of obedience. When it comes to our faith, there's an old saying, live this day as if it were your last. That couldn't be more true. And if you're walking through your life and you don't have that irreverent fear, you better do some digging and self-reflection. Because something ain't quite right. Yeshua said, many are called, few are chosen. During the great flood of the entire population of the earth, how many were saved? 8. During the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, how many were saved? 3. During the great famine that took place in Genesis, how many were actually saved in the remnant? 75. There's an argument on that between 70 and 75, but this ain't the time or place for that argument. The whole point of me saying what I'm saying is everyone needs to do some self-reflecting. And if you haven't woken up and finally coming to the truth where the light actually is, you might want to do some serious house cleaning. Those who have broken away and have come to the truth and the light, you're not above doing some housekeeping yourself. I'm not above doing my own house maintenance. One thing I will put to you like this, and this is just a honest observation that I've made about those who have actually woken up, and in the quantities that I've seen. I woke up 3 years ago, and in that time I have personally come into contact with not even 50. Not even. Some people have had contact with greater amounts than I have. But if you sit and think about population size, where I live, to give a prime example, where I live has roughly a annual population 50 maybe 60,000. There's only 3 others here that I'm currently aware of. But if you sit and think about those numbers for a second, but out of 50 to 60,000, and let's say that 3 and that's it, it's tiny. So with that being said, now you got to think and look at things on a global scale. How many? There are pockets of people that are starting to wake up all over the place, all over the planet. Some I've met recently, not personally, but through a Facebook, a fellowship, live chat. It's like a sprinkle here, a sprinkle there. Some in other countries. But even though there's like one country here, and another one down there, those countries are still separated by thousands of miles. So when you talk about people being scattered, yeah, those who are waking up, we're scattered big time. I've heard people talk in the past that when the time comes, we're going to go through a greater exodus. And it's just going to be just like the Exodus that's talked about in the Bible, where the Israelites had their exodus out of Mitzrayim or Egypt. But the greater exodus is going to take place on all 7 continents. This ain't going to be just getting away from Egypt, no. This is going to be from getting away from the final beast system when that goes active. And not everybody is going to make it to the end. There'll be people that will bend and cave because they weren't prepared. And I'm not talking about physical preparations. Yeah, the Israelites, they had made physical preparations, but I'm talking about your spiritual preparation, your spiritual preparedness. And where I'm going with that, the Israelites, the original batch that left Egypt, 10 separate times they put Yah to the test, and he had finally had enough with it. He finally said that all of them from the age of 20 and above would die in the desert. They would not enter the promised land. Only those who are under the age of 20 that would grow up, that didn't have 400 years of Egypt embedded into them. They didn't have faith. And that's what I'm talking about, your spiritual preparations. To have faith. Make some physical preparation, sure. But if you don't have faith, if you are spiritually not sound, good luck. So just some thoughts that I wanted to go ahead and share. So with that, shalom.